Good afternoon. My name is Tim Lynch. I am your host of Legal Lines. Legal Lines is brought to you by the Massachusetts LGBTQ Bar Association. We have a very interesting program here today. If at any time you'd like to join us, please do. Our number here is 617-708-3290. Again, 617-708-3290. My guests here today are the co-chairs of the Massachusetts LGBTQ Bar Association. We're going to learn a little bit about them and a little bit about what the Bar Association is all about. So, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves? We have Elizabeth Roberts and Dan Levin. Elizabeth, why don't you start?
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me here today. I am an associate at Todd & Weld, which is a downtown Boston law firm. I practice exclusively in the area of probate and family law litigation. I've been practicing for 7 years. I've been with Todd & Weld for 6 of those years, and for my 1 other year of practice, I was a clerk for the Massachusetts Probate and Family Court. I have been a member of the Bar Association since I graduated from law school, and this is my 2nd year, actually, as co-chair of the organization, and before that I served as clerk or secretary.
Yeah, awesome. Dan, this is your first year.
It is. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am an associate tax counsel at an asset management firm here in Boston. Before that, I worked as a tax lawyer at a large firm in town. My practice focuses on the structuring of investments mostly, and focuses specifically on U.S. and international tax considerations.
So
a little bit different.
A little bit different. And I think it's wonderful that we show quite a range of expertise on the board of the LGBTQ Bar Association. Why don't I start there? In case our viewers don't know, LGBTQ, what do the letters stand for? I'm going to put you on the spot. Elizabeth.
Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer. So the Bar Association welcomes attorneys and other legal professionals to join who either self-identify as LGBTQ or are friends of the LGBTQ community. We are very proud of the fact that we are a statewide organization serving the entirety of Massachusetts, from its eastern border all the way to its further western regions. Right now, we also have a healthy student population. As a law student, you are able to join, and you can join for free. Information about membership can be found on our website, which I'm sure you'll talk about later.
Oh,
but
yeah.
The one thing I wanted to stress today is that we're really proud of the fact that this is our 30th anniversary of the founding of this Bar Association. We were a fledgling organization 30 years ago that the Mass Bar helped organize and provide meeting space for. We're very proud of our relationship with both the Massachusetts Bar Association as well as the Boston Bar Association, which currently provides us with meeting space and some staff and assistance in the administrative side of our own organization. So to be around for 30 years is not too bad.
No, it's not too bad. Let me bounce over to you, Dan. But how large is the organization, would you say, with attorneys and people like that? Geographically, we cover the state, but I mean, membership-wise, generally we're in the 200 to 300s.
We're in the 200 to 300 range in terms of active membership. It fluctuates a little bit. We have a very large group of LGBTQ attorneys and other legal professionals and students in the Commonwealth who aren't always members, but who participate in our events, who receive our mailings and get information from us, and who do participate in the LGBTQ legal community more generally. Everyone's encouraged to sign up. We really appreciate it, and it helps support all of the work that we do, but all are welcome.
Okay, I'm going to get to all the work we do, but Elizabeth, why don't we explain to our viewers, the listening audience, what's the purpose of having an LGBTQ bar association? Why is that important?
So our bar association is no different than any other professional organization in terms of its ultimate goal is to provide a space where people in like professions can find a community, can find mentorship opportunities, and business building opportunities, both through social avenues and educational avenues and advocacy avenues. So like any other professional organization that a viewer might belong to, this bar association is no different. I think that where we specialize is in the name itself. We focus our efforts often in protecting members of the LGBTQ community when it comes to advocating for the passage or the non-passage and defeat of certain legislation. We advocate for diverse judicial system, including members of the bench, and general diversity throughout the profession. We encourage employers to have hiring policies that are diverse and favorable to all different types of families and employees. And when we find a particular area where the law deserves to either be investigated more, researched more, or needs some particular advocacy, our organization is able to, based on our wide array of members, assist in kind of providing that and then disseminating information.
Yeah, and I think you hit upon a very important point, is that we try to make sure that the judges and the law firms in Massachusetts reflect the community. And when they reflect the community, certainly that includes our community. And so we try to make sure that proper candidates are there to become judges, hopefully, and law firms are cognitive, know about the fact that they have LGBT associates who one day hopefully will be partners in those firms.
And I just want to stress, Tim, that one of the things that I think the Bar Association does particularly well is forming partnerships with other diversity and affinity bars. So
such as?
Such as the Massachusetts Association of Hispanic Attorneys, the Asian American Lawyers Association of Massachusetts, and
the Black Lawyers Association.
The Black Lawyers Association. I mean, the list goes on.
There's many of them, actually, yes.
There are many, South Asian, the Federal Bar, many organizations we form partnerships with in order to promote all types of diversity, because it's in everyone's interest, as you said, that the community as a whole is reflected.
Yes, it gives people confidence in our judges if they reflect the community at large. So that's a very important rule that hopefully we're able to impress upon people. Getting back to you, Dan, you mentioned we do works, and I guess you're referring to the amicus committee and things of that nature.
That's right.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. As you mentioned, Tim, and as Elizabeth mentioned, we have a very diverse group of lawyers that make up our organization who have expertise in a wide range of areas. And it's I guess, in some ways surprising, but it also makes sense that you'll find LGBTQ-related issues and issues of diversity generally popping up in all different kinds of areas of law.
Including tax law.
Including tax law. So when you find an issue like that, sometimes we come upon them ourselves, our members find them for us, other times our partner organizations come to us having found something interesting, and we get together and we think about whether or not there's value in providing an amicus brief, a statement of interested parties to the court, to help make sure that the courts understand how legal issues affect everyone. And so we have a committee of volunteer lawyers and law students who work on those programs. As Elizabeth mentioned, we have lawyers and students who work on legislative matters, keeping an eye on what's going on in the legislature to make sure that state senators and representatives understand what's important both to the legal profession, to LGBTQ members of the legal profession, and to the community more generally. And we also sometimes see that other states are doing interesting things through our network of out-of-state partner organizations, or sometimes just the news, and work with folks in Massachusetts to see what we can do to advance those kinds of good ideas here.
Yeah, and let's go over that. You mentioned the State House. Whenever legislation is pending that affects the LGBT community or our profession, we always are represented, make sure somebody is there to represent our interest at their hearings, and perhaps do briefing on the issues that are pending there. And then you mentioned amicus briefs, which are just basically friend of the court briefs that an appellate court or a highest court, the Supreme Judicial Court, might ask for on some issue that might be of concern to the community. So generally, could you give us some examples of that? Or, I mean, we just did one amicus brief on
That's right.
on an important issue.
Recently, the case of Commonwealth v. Kelly had oral arguments, and we reviewed and participated in a brief that was authored by the Anti-Defamation League, specifically focusing on how jury instructions affect how juries consider hate crime charges that have been brought against the defendant. And it was very important to us, to the Anti-Defamation League, to many other organizations, some of which Elizabeth mentioned, who have an interest in making sure that hate crime statutes are enforced, to ensure that the ruling in the case wouldn't take away from the power of that law. It was passed by the legislature for a reason. We think that it works, and we wanted to make sure that our perspective, on behalf of the community generally, and specifically communities who are sometimes the targets of hate crimes, we wanted to make sure that the courts understood that what they did in this case could affect how valuable the laws and protections are.
Yeah, and that involved a statute outlawing hate crimes, and the issue there was how the judge instructed the jury on what the statute meant and how the jury is to find whether or not the defendant in that case violated the statute. And obviously it's our concern that whatever instructions the judge gives the jury doesn't water down the legislative intent, which is to protect people. We also, with respect to the State House, we're still doing the transgender rights.
Right. We were very much involved in the Transgender Equal Rights Bill when it was first introduced and passed. We still have work to do on that. We continue to work with the Mass Transgender Political Coalition, with Mass Equality, other groups that have an interest in making sure that all of the members of our community are protected, and to make sure that, in particular, an important piece of the bill that was left out when it was first passed is ultimately enacted. As you may remember, the public accommodation piece of that law was deleted from the bill before it was passed. And that's a very important part of the bill that applies to other groups, to lesbians and gays, to members of racial and ethnic minorities, that says when you offer a service or a good in a business in the Commonwealth, you